so for the first time ever, I'm going to do my top 20 X-Men. Now, first off, this is probably the only time I'm ever going to do a top 20 list, so yeah. And also, I say X-Men, I wanted to do top 20 X-Men, and why I chose 20 is because there are a lot of mutants out there that, I really like, or, I think they're cool. And remember guys, this is my list, so remember that this is my list, so I got to this is just my choosings. But yeah, and remember, if they're not on the list, that doesn't mean I don't like them. It's just that they didn't have qualities that. Well, I like them. It's just that this list was really hard to make. So let's leave it at that. But yeah, the list was really hard to make. I really had to do some major thinking to pick out 20 X-Men I really wanted to have on this list. And starting with number 20 is one that's been getting a lot of hate, but I don't like him much anymore, but I still have a lot of respect for the character. And that's Cyclops. Yeah. Yeah. I know it's funny to have the X-Men leader, and probably one of the most well-known mutants, at the number 20 list, but I know, as much as I bash Cyclops and all that, I still hold a lot of respect for the character. I mean, back in the 90s, that's where I dug Cyclops the most. 90s Cyclops was a badass. I have to say that right now. And, Cyclops now, I still respect the character. Even though I don't like a lot of the moves, what the writers have done with him over the recent years is kind of make him like a total jerk. But yeah, I still I still have a lot of respect for the character. And I did like Cyclops in the 90s comics, like I said, and you gotta give it to Scott, one of the original 5 X-Men, very strong-willed, very powerful, mutant. Just because I always thought, at first, when I ever read Cyclops when I was younger, I was like, this is kinda dumb, all he can do is shoot eye beams. But then I read him in other comics as I got older, I'm like, oh, that's how powerful those optic blasts are. Okay. Because I've seen him take down a whole mountainside, I've seen him blow up sentinels. So yeah, even though I don't really like the character much now, I still gotta give a lot of credit for the past years before they started making him into a total dick, and give a lot of respect to the character. So yeah, as much as I crap on him, I put him at number 20. But anyway, moving on to number 19. Now, number 19 started out as a new X-Men, but she's been getting through the ranks as an X-Men character, and hopefully I'll see she'll be in the X-Men Regenesis thing. And this may surprise you, and it's Dust. Yes, for those who don't know who Dust is, she is one of the few Arabic superheroes in Marvel Universe. There's about maybe 5 or 6, or I think about 10 actually, now that I think about it. I can't name them off because they're really hardly used. But Dust is her. One of the things that I like about her is that I really dig her mutant ability. What she can do is basically become a cloud of acidic dust. I think that's pretty cool, of making yourself a cloud of acidic dust and just fly through like an air vent, or fly through a crowd of people and make their skin burn and whatever. And she's kind of like the quiet girl. She was a very interesting character. She was cool. I read some back issues of New X-Men. She's a pretty cool character. Kind of like the silent type, but she's a real deadly force. So yeah, the number one thing. Well, yeah, like I said before, the first thing that got me into liking the character of Dust was her superpower, and eventually the character herself grew on me, and I'm like, oh, this character's all right. And it's not every day you see a lot of Middle East superheroes, so I think that's cool. To keep make the Marvel Universe diverse in that way. But anyway, number 18. Number 18 is another character who started out as a Generation X character. This character's been around, and I know a lot of. He's been around for a while, and hopefully he'll be an X-Man in the coming Regenesis thing. I don't know, but yeah. I dug him. I read this character in Generation X, and I thought he was probably one of the coolest mutants I've ever seen in that book. And he goes by the name Jonathan Starsmore, but you probably know him better as Chamber. Yeah, Chamber was another character who first I thought was cool because of his mutant power. First off, you're seeing that big blotch of light on his chest and near his mouth. That's not like him about to shoot an energy blast out of his mouth. that's actually psychic energy that's melted through his chest cavity and his bottom jaw. So he basically can launch telekinetic blasts at you at a concussion rate. He's also capable. He's now capable of flight, and he doesn't need to eat or drink anything. He can survive on that, and he has low-level telepathy. And so Starsmore was also another cool down-to-earth character. Again, what started for me was that I thought his powers were cool, but then the character himself grew on me. I'm like, oh, this guy's a badass. I mean, how many characters do you know that has his power that more or less left him almost like looking like a freak, basically, and still throwing down, basically. So yeah, Chamber was always another cool X-Men. He was actually on the Generation X team. Chamber was actually my favorite, but now he goes by a new name called Disciple, I think. Yeah, I think he goes by, if I did some research, and he goes by Disciple, because I thought he was depowered in the other books. I mean, during M-Day, House of M, basically. But yeah, I still call him Chamber, though, so yeah, Chamber at number 18. Now, number 17 is a character that's very well known, and you'd probably be surprised why she's so low on the list. Well, I like the character, it's just there are a lot of other characters I like above her that I've grown to love more than her. So yes, it's another female character. And, yeah, you guys are going to be surprised, but yeah, it's X-23. Now, why she's so low on the list is because all these other X-Men you're seeing, and again, this list was really hard to make. I gotta make this clear. This list was really hard to, figure out who goes where. So, yeah. So that's why X-23 is so low on the list, because there was a lot of other qualities I had to make. It wasn't just because, ooh, the powers are cool, and excuse me on that, I had a hiccup there. It wasn't just because the powers were cool or anything, it's just like personality or how long I've known these characters and read about them. So yeah, that's it. But X-23's grown into a very cool character for me. She became from this total bitch character to this character you want to read more about. This real danger. She's become a real threat to anyone who crosses her path or anyone who crosses the X-Men's path. For me, I think she really started to shine in the X-Force, not Uncanny X-Force, but when she was part of Wolverine's X-Force before with Warpath, Wolfsbane, and Archangel. And yeah, I think I said Warpath already. But yeah, that's when she really started to shine for me as a character. I'm going to go back and read more of New X-Men because she's in there as well. And yeah, that's X-23's always been cool for me. But yeah, that's why she's low on the list. Other characters came before her. But now number 16. Now number 16 is a character I love. I mutually have a lot of love for this character, as well as the Mount Vernon kid. This is also his and both of us. This is our favorite Summers brother, and you probably know who I'm talking about. Havoc. Havoc, like the Mount Vernon kid, he's my favorite Summers brother. Havoc was always cool. This very, he started out as this brash and arrogant young kid, and he's grown up to be this character. And I'm glad he's going back to X Factor. I'm glad they're putting him back on X Factor because that's his team. He's always been a cool X-Men character, but I always felt he was always better on X Factor. And I loved his. That's another cool character that's grown on me. Is like kind of like the brother you want to have. That's the best way I could compare him. Like, you'd want this guy as your brother, just because he's very down to earth, but sometimes he can be brash and arrogant. And I always thought his power was more devastating than Cyclops's. He could generate all that energy into his chest or around his body and just release it. A more like wide range attack rather than Cyclops' optic blast. So that's why also he hasn't made a lot of bad choices. And again, I've really started liking this character when he was part of X-Men and then the X-Force and then Mutant X, which I only read about 5 books, but it was cool. Mutant X was cool, but yeah. Havoc, definitely a very fun character, and mine and the Mount Vernon kid's favorite Summers brother. So, yeah. Now, moving on to number 15. Now, number 15 is a character that came from the Age of Apocalypse universe, but that's where I started to like him, when I read Age of Apocalypse, and he came part of the Marvel 616 universe, and now he's going to be part of New Mutants, and I think that's pretty cool. And that's Nate Gray, aka X-Man. Nate's always been this very, like, I've always enjoyed his story, like a guy from an alternate universe. You know, he's so out of place among the 616 universe. He doesn't know how to cope with it sometimes. I remember in his original book, he always, like, you know, even though I hated the universe I came from, this universe is so alien to me. I thought it was cool that they brought him from the Age of Apocalypse universe into, you know, the mainstream Marvel universe, and have him encounter all the other Marvel characters, and kind of existed in he's kind of like this Captain America thing. He's like a man out of time, but only in this place he's a man out of universe, basically. He always had this cool demeanor to him. I always dug his he was always like this calm, cool, and collected, and almost philosophical vibe to him, at least in the books I've read of him. I know sometimes he can lose his cool, and he's definitely not a guy you want to cross. X-Man is definitely not a guy you want to cross. With the power Nate wields, yeah, I wouldn't piss this guy off. And I remember one comic where he actually killed Nemesis and absorbed him. So yeah, like I said, this dude is a silent badass, basically. And yeah, I've dug him since Age of Apocalypse, and you know, I still think he's awesome. But anyway, number 14. Now, number 14 is another X-Force type character that I've always enjoyed. And like I said, guys, I gotta keep bringing this up, is that this list was really hard to make, so I always had to judge. It was really hard to place who goes where. But yeah. Anyway, at number 14 is Warren Worthington, aka Archangel. Now, Archangel, he's always been a favorite of mine as a character. Just this, he started out as this fun, in the original 5 X-Men, he was always this fun and outgoing and free-spirited character. But in the recent years, throughout Uncanny X-Force, you know, his Archangel persona has taken control of him, and now, currently, during the new Uncanny X-Force storyline, he's trying to become like the new Lord of the Age of Apocalypse universe. So I think that's pretty cool. I always actually, it's gonna sound kind of weird, but I always dug him more as Archangel than regular Angel. Archangel, I always dug his metallic wings. And, you know, a lot of people say that they dug Warren as Archangel rather than just Angel, because he felt like I felt like, and a lot of people, X-fans can agree with me, is that it felt like he could do more as Archangel, rather than just fly around and just be a scout, basically, for the X-Men. Now, I don't have anything against regular Angel, it's just that Archangel, that's where his fandom really grew, when he became Archangel. I loved his, the poison-tipped wings, and the fact that he could use these wings as blades, or a shield. You know, these 2 adamantium wings, I think they're made of adamantium. Yeah, I think they are, but I could be wrong. Now, number 13. Now, number 13 is another X-Men character you'd be surprised of what he's actually. You're probably thinking, wow, he's that high on the list. But yeah, I've always dug him in the X-Men comics. This very cool character, and you know, I love the Irish accent to him, and you probably know who I'm talking about, and that's Sean Cassidy, aka Banshee. Yes, Banshee. I've always dug Banshee because he always had this, like, he was so full of himself in the earlier comics. It was so damn funny. I just loved, I loved him when he was I loved this character when he was part of the X-Men animated series. That's actually where I was first introduced to him, in the X-Men animated series, where he was like, he was like telling Wolverine, hey, you better learn some manners. Because no one ever tells Wolverine that and gets away with it. But yeah, I hated when he died. I hated when Sean was killed during Deadly Genesis. But yeah, he's probably one of the longest dead X-Men next to Jean Grey, and he hasn't come back. I expected him to come back by now, but oh well. But yeah, Sean I always dug. I also think his daughter, Siren, now calling herself Banshee, is pretty cool as well. But to me, it's always that title's always going to belong to her dad. But I hope you guys have been enjoying this list. You guys tell me what you think of this list so far, and stay tuned for the next few for the countdown to continue later.